everyone, it is Meredith, and today we are going to break open the moon myths. We are going to go into the molten lava of the meaning of the moon, and it is so deep. So few astrologers talk about the moon phases. This is one of the most critical pieces to understanding your moon. Now, it's a little bit complex, but I am going to break it down for you today, and we are going to do the whole second half of the moon phases, starting with the full moon. And stick with me through this whole entire video, because even if you don't have one of these moon phases, you will experience each one of these phases by transit. Plus, I'm going to take you through the waning gibbous moon, the third quarter moon, and the waning crescent moon. And then for a bonus, I'm going to give you a phase inside a phase, the dark moon. And the dark moon is if you are born just before the new moon. It is the last breath of the moon. And very few astrologers consider this its own phase, but I do, because it is so deep. Just wait till you find out who was born under the dark moon. That's not the new moon. That dark moon is that last little slice of the pie. It's that little dental floss sliver, but it is not the new moon. This is part 2. If you guys don't know what the moon phases mean, you got to go watch the video on my moon phases part 1 so you can understand what these moon phases even are. They are not aspects, they are phases. And so they have sometimes 1 or 2 different aspects inside of each phase. And in my first video, I talk about the first 4 phases, including the new moon. So when I talk about the full moon, even if you don't have a full moon, I want you to listen to this transit, because you are going to have this transit in your life every single month, and you are going to have this by progression, and you're going to want to know what it means. So I think full moons are a little bit misunderstood. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you first about what does it mean to be born under the full moon. No, you're not a werewolf. No, you're not crazy, although you might be, but let's don't blame it on the full moon. This is maximum illumination, when the waxing phase, the expansion of light, reaches its maximum capacity, and then the very next breath it starts to wane. So it only stays full at that 180 degrees exact. So if you're at 179, well, you are a full moon baby, because you are coming into the illumination. But if you are born at 181, you are still a full moon baby, but the energy is starting to go within. And on the full moon, this matters. So tell me, if you are a full moon baby, what degree is your moon at? And what degree is your sun at? That's how we can know. Technically, we consider the moon full between 180 degrees and 225 degrees. But I'm going to also kind of give it to you if you've got a moon at 179. You count. You can either be a gibbous moon or you can be a full moon, and you should read both and see what you really feel. But this is where we have that waxing phase clash into the waning phase. Now, I know you already know this, but I want you to sit deeply, and I want you to feel this. I want you to try this on. And this is that when the moon is full, the earth is sitting in between the sun and the moon. So imagine, just feel so deeply inside of you when you're standing here and your identity is to the right, and your personality and your soul. And then the deeper part of your soul, your emotional being, your instinctive essence, your deepest intuition, the deepest feelings are over here. And so when you're looking over here at your moon, you cannot see your sun. And when you're looking at your sun, you cannot see your moon. And so these people have a conflict, because their moon cannot see their sun. And so these parts of them are separate from one another, and they're very hard for full moon babies to integrate. How would that feel? What does that feel if you are a full moon baby? Tell me. It's like your heart and your soul's essence are in opposition to one another. They're in opposition inside of your own self. So full moon babies are just full on. They are fully bright. They are fully lit up. And I think because they're at a little bit of a disadvantage, not being able to see and integrate both parts of them. The luminaries are the most important part of an astrological chart, and they can't integrate them easily. They need external circumstances probably to help them integrate. But imagine Mount Kilimanjaro in between the two, and the sun has to hike up Mount Kilimanjaro and go back down to get to the moon. And the moon has to climb the treacherous mountain to go get to the sun. So there is a deep conflict within full moon babies. So because they can't see the different parts of themselves very easily, I think what happens is that they learn how to feel themselves. They learn how to know themselves, and they learn how to imagine or intuit their lives. And so these people are literally that. So these people have their heart, remember that's what the moon is, fully lit up. Their emotional body is at full capacity, full throttle, fully exposed, fully lit. Imagine if that was you. So these are very, very, very emotional beings. They feel full out. I want you to imagine that you have a bucket of water on your head and it's filled to the top. And I tell you to go walk a mile and don't spill a drop. That's what it feels like to have a full moon. You have your emotions all the way full. These people usually extend themselves to strangers. You can see their hearts right away. These people usually really emotionally want to express their feelings or share how they feel. Now, I won't say that it's simple for them, and it definitely depends. It definitely depends if they are a fixed moon sign or if they are a mutable or if they are a cardinal. So fixed moon signs don't want to express as easily as mutable full moon signs. This is Aurora. She came to visit. She's so stinking cute. So when you have a full moon, the moon and the sun don't understand each other naturally. They speak opposite languages. The moon doesn't get the sun and the sun doesn't get the moon. And so the heart does not comprehend the soul's desires immediately. So these people have to grow themselves to survive their worlds. It's like these parts of themselves are pitted against each other because they have a natural opposition inside of themselves. And they also can understand people so well because of this internal or external conflict. Oftentimes these people have external conflicts out there in the world. Maybe they were adopted, maybe they were cut off by their mother. Life circumstances became so challenging that they usually have a pretty incredible concept of life, their life, and other people. They can easily stand in the shoes of other people. These people are pretty remarkable at understanding and seeing life's misgivings, life's mistakes, and they're more equipped, I think, to deal well with those misgivings. And they really are quite capable of turning lemons into lemonade. And these people also are so highly aware of what fate means that they seem to have their finger on the pulse of their personal destiny, and they live large. I'll tell you that this can be sort of like a deer in the headlights type of person too, where they can literally just be stunned by their lives and their circumstances, and they want to create change. They still have sort of that waxing energy, but they can also be very reflective about the change they want to create, especially if they are a little bit of a later full moon, when the full moon is just starting to lose its light. Okay, so here is my secret full moon tip. Are you guys listening? Are you ready? So this is how you can figure out if you're on the waxing or waning side of the full moon, and it kind of matters. So if your sun is at the 15th degree of Sagittarius and your moon is sitting before that number in Gemini, so if your moon is sitting at the 10-degree Gemini phase, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15, it's on the waxing side. If it's sitting at the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th degree, it's on the waning side. It's losing light. And so it kind of matters. So what I have found is if you have a waxing moon phase, oftentimes your challenges come more from an external external situation. And if you're in the waning phase of the full moon, and I understand that the full moon goes all the way to 225 degrees, but I'm just talking about if it's applying or if it's separating. Applying is waxing and separating is waning, if the light is moving away from the moon. And it's really exciting to figure this out, because if you have a waning full moon, then your crises or your challenges come a little bit from your own perceptions, how you've dealt with your own losses, there's an internal strife or struggle. Maybe you lack the self-esteem or the self-confidence, or you have negative self-talk. Your perception of your troubles is not well managed inside of you. Maybe you didn't get the emotional or the psychological toolkit to necessarily catapult you out of your woes as easily, and it may take a little more reflection, a little more thought, a little deeper work. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's internal rather than external. So if you're a waxing full moon baby, it's like you're jumping into the pool of light, the bigness, and taking on life's full blown risks. Or have you already just jumped in the pool and now you're getting out of the pool and you're drying off? I'll also tell you that not a lot of astrologers talk about this, but when I see a full moon baby, I often, almost all the time, almost every client I've ever worked with has always wanted more from mother. Mother wasn't able to be there in the full-blown capacity that the full moon baby really wanted. Maybe it was no fault of hers. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she had to live on the other side of the world. Maybe she was immigrated into this country and couldn't assimilate as easily, and you felt lost. Maybe you felt that you were a middle child. Maybe you felt invisible. Maybe you weren't breastfed. Maybe you were orphaned. It's somehow mother wasn't, or the emotional parent wasn't as accessible. There's a separation to mom. There's an opposition. There's mom is on the other side of the mountain. Mom didn't get me, didn't understand me, didn't know me, didn't see me, didn't want me, didn't have me, didn't birth me, something. There is some sort of separation, or this case where mom just doesn't totally get me. And from the ages of 0 to 12, it's like mom didn't set up life, or life was not set up where mom could really see me or know me. I had to hide myself on the other side of the mountain, right? Maybe I'm gay and my mom wanted me to be straight. Maybe I'm a girl and my mom wanted a boy. It's something like that. If you're a full moon baby, will you tell me your story and let me know? If you feel like you could share it with us, we could all learn so much. Let's build our moon phase community on this channel, and let's share with each other so we can all learn. Or did your dad raise you? Because this could be your father too, but most likely it's the mother. But these are the questions. These are the questions that I'm asking you. So you guys, I have to tell you, you need to know your progressed lunar phase. Lunar is moon. So you need to know your progressed moon phase. I just went through, just literally 2 weeks ago, it ended, my progressed new moon phase. And that is a brand new world, a brand new chapter for me. And I am so glad I knew that I was standing in my new moon phase by progression, because I didn't waste an ounce of that energy. And I sell this report. It's called Quickie Moon Phase Report. And I share with you not only your natal moon phase, but your progressed moon phase too. When you buy one of my gorgeous natal charts, you can also buy a progressed chart in my shop, and you can get the Quickie Moon Phase Report. But you're going to get a chart that's gorgeous. It's not going to look exactly like this, but it is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It is color coded. But down here in the box, you can see where it says moon phase right here. And it shows you the moon phase. So I tell you your moon phase when you also buy a natal chart, but I just recommend that you guys all go get the Quickie Moon Phase Report. It's so good. It's super easy to read. It tells you about it's the cliff notes for all the phases. And it tells you both your natal and gives you a little tiny report on it. And it tells you about your progressed moon phase. And it is so good. You don't want to miss out on what moon phases you have. When you're under a full moon phase, this is what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like a loss, a goodbye of some sort. So it's important to understand these moon phases happen to you by transit too. So full moon babies, I think, build themselves out of this experience of early loss. That's my opinion, but they're full throttle, full out, and they give maximum effort in this lifetime to survive it. And so that means they are going to have a life that's going to give them some challenges and some hard challenges to overcome. Some people really feel cut off from loved ones. Some people feel like, even when they're a parent, that they've been abandoned by their own children or they weren't able to have children. Some people feel that the parent and child relationship, the children that they create and the parental relationship that they come from, has separation in it or severance in it. So it can take many, many forms. But I want to know what happened to you, and I want to know if you've had children and you're a full moon baby, were you able to remedy that? We got to go look in your child's chart to see what moon they have, to see how they relate to you as a parent. And that's really important. That's how you can see how your child feels about you, is you can look at their moon, by sign, by house, by aspect, and by phase. So if you have a full moon baby and you're the parent, you're the mom or the dad, you can know that they feel separated from. So then you can work a little bit harder to remedy that and to fix that and to be aware of it and not to be a crazy workaholic like me. My kid doesn't have a full moon. I'm sure she feels like I work too much. This moon phase can create just such a deep conflict within a person. They're usually torn between those two worlds. So one of the best examples, I think, is Judy Garland, who was Dorothy in Wizard of Oz. And she was America's darling. She was America's sweetest heart. The world fell in love with her. And with the pressures of being a child star, like so many, and one of the first, just most glorious American childhood stars, Hollywood being larger than life, they gave her uppers so she wouldn't fall asleep because she had to wake up so early to start filming. And then they gave her downers so she could go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night. They also wouldn't let her eat. And so they had her up on speed, and then antidepressants. She wanted to live this Hollywood life and be there for all her fans. And she had this larger than life in Hollywood, and then struggled privately with what Hollywood really was behind the scenes. It literally was like Hollywood was like the fake man behind the curtain. I mean, they drugged her so she could perform like a show pony. And if you think about it, she was a Sagittarius moon. Sagittarius moons are very difficult. It's very difficult to contain Sagittarius energy inside a human body. And she was a Gemini sun, and her moon was full, and she was Cancer rising. So her whole entire chart was ruled by the moon. I just hurt for her. The movie Judy, oh my God, you've got to go see it. So I also think that these people are highly aware and highly sensitive to goodbyes. I think they kind of have abandonment issues. A lot of them do, maybe not every single one. Tell me if you can relate to this. They kind of expect people to not stick in their lives. They kind of are expecting the exit. Okay, when's the shoe going to drop? When is this person leaving my life? How long is this going to, last? They can have a bit of a cynicism just because they've had probably really extreme loss in their early childhood from ages 0 to 12. Those goodbyes, those exits, those divorces, deaths, losses, those people who left your life, who don't really get you at the soul's level or the heart level, they leave, they abandon you, all those people, they also shape you. You, my friend, because of those experiences, they make you deeper, they make you more authentic, they make you more real, they help you stay in touch with your raw vulnerability. You don't know how to be fake. Full moon babies are fully exposed. They don't know how to do fake. It's like their feelings are on full display. You might not have had it easy, but in a good and twisted and bizarre and weird kind of way, you did have it good. There's something bittersweet that came out of this experience for you, and it made you stronger, and it made you more vulnerable, and it made you more real, and it made you more authentic. Whenever I see a full moon in an astrology chart or in a natal chart, I sort of gasp, like, ooh, because I can't even imagine the feeling. It's both sort of a blessing and a curse. And I hope that you make it more of a blessing than a curse. And it depends how old you are too. Like, have you had your lunar return yet by progression? Have you had your progressed new moon yet? Anybody should know their progressed moon phases, but especially full moon babies, because at 2.5 years old, you moved already into the next phase. And then at about 29 years old, it's going to probably come back to a full lunar full moon phase again. And so I kind of want to know how old you are. And that will tell you it takes about 29 years for the moon to return back to the place that it was when you were born by progression. When you know those dates, you can expect those energies to creep in and seep in. So full moons by progression usually do create some sort of loss. So I would like for you to be in front of it, not behind it, in your awareness and in your illumination. Now, I kind of say this with a little bit of truth and humor, but it's like, God, if the full moon doesn't kill you, meaning if your emotional challenges don't feel completely impossible to deal with, and if you can find the coping mechanisms inside of you to survive your emotional pains, you can become immensely enlightened and awakened in this lifetime. You have so much power. Look at some of the tragedies of these full moon babies that they had to or tried to survive. So my first thought is Ted Kennedy and Chappaquiddick. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, oh my God, go Google Ted Kennedy, American senator from Massachusetts, and Chappaquiddick. And that is just god awful. So, it's just awful. And he survived it, but barely. And he had a Pisces sun and a moon in Virgo. And Macaulay Culkin, I think, has a Virgo sun and a Pisces moon. I think Michael Jackson also has a full moon. I think he's Virgo Pisces. I think so. Somebody will have to check that for me. Cristiano Ronaldo, Aquarius with a Leo. Mary J. Blige, Moby, and Andy Gibb, oh my God, Pisces Virgo. And I do think that Pisces is so emotional. Then to have a full moon, it's like extra emotional. And his life story, just God, one morning on a Sunday with my coffee, I just watched every documentary on Andy Gibbs. I just cried my eyes out. It was just, God, it was so heartbreaking. He had just such a heartbreaking story. And his love affair with Victoria Principal, it just broke my heart. And I think that Andy Gibb especially, he had that heart that was so sensitive and larger than life. So there's 3 things you should get in my shop: my quickie moon phase report, my void of course moon tracker. It's so important for you to know when the moon is void of course. That's when you need to do nothing. Do not get married, sign a contract. Don't do anything during a void of course moon that you don't need to do. That's a time for rest and relaxation, and nothing will even happen. Do not have a first date on a void of course moon. Don't cut your record album. Don't stand on stage and give your one and only TED talk during a void of course moon. You can also get my monthly moon calendar listing. It's just a list in my shop, so you can see when the moon enters each sign, and you can track where it's at in your natal chart with my monthly moon calendar. So now let's talk about the disseminating moon, which is also called the waning gibbous moon. It's called disseminating or waning gibbous moon. They mean the same thing. But now we're officially in the waning phase, behind the sun, not in front of it. Now we're between 225 degrees and 270 degrees. So when you look at the natal chart, they look close together, but the moon is that far behind the sun. They only look a few signs behind, but you have to calculate it going around and count the signs in front of the sun. So the moon is actually behind. Disseminating, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about like the flowers and the seeds of the flowers are dropping and falling on the ground. It's like the flower is in full bloom under the full moon. And now the leaves are starting to drop their seeds. They're starting to spread the seed of knowledge, spread the seed of the heart's feelings and knowledge. These people are teachers. They're inspiring preachers. They sort of sing from the mountaintops, and they want to, forgive the pun, spread their seed. These people can be writers and researchers. They can be teachers. They can be speakers, and they usually feel like they have something burning inside of them that they want to share with the world. They are deep learners, and they want to maintain knowledge and awareness in this lifetime. It's their goal. They're sort of like phenomenal storytellers. Now, they can have really volatile or passionate emotional responses to life, very zealous. If you have a friend that has this aspect, you'll quickly see that they have a lot to teach you. They kind of preach their belief systems on you, and they just have sort of a way of just words constantly flowing. Oftentimes this is very creative. They can be great at speaking, writing, painting, acting. They have a lot of passion. They like to inspire people through their own experiences and telling their great stories and all the lessons that they learned. They like to pontificate about life. They're very fascinating and interesting people. So there is a little bit of a tension with this aspect, and that's because we're coming from that waxing, the moon was so big and bright, and now it's just starting to shrink. So it's, again, like the other gibbous moon phase, it's not quite a beautiful circle, but there's sort of a reckoning internally about man's condition or our condition. And so rather than the external world creating conflict for us, there's a deeper reflection with these people, and they start developing a deep belief system. What do I believe in? And then they want to teach that belief system to the world. But there is a deep desire to learn about what they believe in. Who are we? Why do we exist? They start asking the bigger questions about life, and they start turning themselves inside out, asking the deeper questions in life. These are sort of soul searchers. These people have to follow their true north. First, they have to figure out what their true north is, and then they just cannot live full out unless they know what they believe in, and then they sort of teach that very belief system to others out in the world. But it comes with sort of a deeper turmoil or a deeper reckoning with self, like where I came from and who I want to be might have friction in it. And so a new belief system, not what they were taught by their parents, but what they have created on their own, can emerge from this. These are very powerful people. Princess Diana, she could not be true to herself. She left the frickin' monarchy. She married a prince and was so unhappy, she left him. It cost her everything to leave. Everything. It cost her her boys. It cost her everything. I think England stayed on her side. Eventually it cost her her life. So she's a great example of how powerful these people are and how they just cannot cave when they find themselves. I think she married Prince Charles not knowing what her true belief system is. But once she married into the monarchy, she saw very clearly, just like Meghan, that wasn't it. And she was going to go live out her truth. They like to spread their knowledge. She did it in a very Cancerian way. Stephen Hawking, same thing. I mean, he's the one that warned us about black holes and our carbon footprint and all this other, he was just such a philosopher and a preacher teacher, right? He was so authentic and so true to himself. I forget what the movie was called about his life story. It was so good. Vincent van Gogh, gosh, what a tormented soul. And I don't know if you guys got to go see the Vincent van Gogh immersion museum experience. Oh my God, it was mind blowing. That's the new art. That is 3D living art. Like, you are a part of his canvases. That was one of the most brilliant things I have done all last year. You see his truth, and you see his irony, and you see him questioning all of life in the colors that he uses and in his paintings. And you can see his soul. That's this moon. That is this moon. Also, Marilyn Monroe has this aspect. And look at her. She also was a vulnerable, gullible Norma Jean Baker, 16 years old. She got married at like 16. She married him and they stayed friends forever, but she outgrew him very quickly. And then, Hollywood got their hands on her, and then that didn't match her belief system. And so she sort of died still soul searching for that belief system, but it was starting to cultivate. Wow, they just have to live by their conviction, and there's usually an internal turmoil inside of them. You can see it in Princess Diana. You can see it in Vincent van Gogh. You can see it in Stephen Hawking. It's almost like he had almost too much knowledge to be comfortable. You can see it in Marilyn Monroe. Anyways, you guys follow me on Instagram if you don't follow me yet over there. I'm posting more dailies. I'm also on TikTok at Soul Navigation if you want tarot. I do daily tarot on TikTok, and I do astrology and some more personal posts on Instagram. Also, you can find me on Facebook if you're still doing Facebook. I'm still doing Facebook if you're still doing Facebook. Okay, let's talk about the last quarter moon. My teacher and mentor, Stephen Forrest, he said something very profound in his book. And his book is great. It's called The Book of the Moon, and I do recommend it. It's very deep. Stephen's a very deep thinking person, and I took his apprentice course, and he's wonderful. So this is a great book, and this is the granddaddy of all granddaddy books. This is by Dane. This book is the most quoted book on the moon by any astrologer. This is a very scholarly book. It is a little bit dated in his concepts, but it is phenomenal. So I highly recommend this book too. This is what Stephen wrote about. He said that death is always the third party in every loving relationship. And third quarter moon people have their awareness and their finger literally on the pulse of life. They know all too well the fragility, the sacredness of each moment in time. There is such a depth to third quarter moon people. This moon is also called last quarter moon. So third quarter moon or last quarter moon, it's the same thing. But there is a contemplative poignancy about these last quarter moon people. These people understand the vulnerability of life and how fleeting life can be. They sort of live with a deeper internal concept of the fragility of every moment. And there is a deeply reflective poignancy with these people. And they can see the irony of life all the time. They usually speak with irony on the tip of their tongue. And I always say that the deepest truths in life are always ironic. That is definitely a quote I want to be remembered by. I coined that phrase. I don't know anybody else who says that, but that is really what I have come to learn. And this is my moon phase. So I live with this. I'm a really joyful, happy person, but there is a depth. There's just such a deep awareness around how fleeting life is in me. And I walk around with it kind of hidden and private. So there's a weight with this moon. There's a weight with the moons that are all waning. The waxing, I don't want to say there isn't a weight, but there is a blazing passion, an outward passion. But the waning moons have sort of a more melancholy, deep internal drive to them. And so this moon sign is very reflective and can be moved to feel quite easily. When you talk to a last quarter moon phase person, you'll feel instantly like you're talking to a deep soul. You're talking to somebody who sees beyond the surface, who isn't just buying the story that you're giving them, but that they can see inside. And that's going to happen with the next moon phase too. So stay tuned for that. It's like they get life's beginnings and endings and all that's in the middle all at the same exact time. It's kind of funny, maybe ironic. When I met my husband, I said, I'm a little bit sad to have met you. And he asked why. And I said, because that means one day I'll have to leave you. And he's like, oh my God, we just met though. We have a whole relationship to have, right? But even in the hello, I know there's going to be a goodbye. I don't even know if I want to say the hello because I know the goodbye is in there too then. It's bizarre, right? It's a little bit funny like that. This moon sign is really complex and it kind of contradicts itself. It's losing its light. It's not gaining its light. But if you look up in the night sky, it's going to look like a half moon. The first quarter is if you are in Aries and then you have a Cancer moon. The third quarter is if you are a Cancer sun and you have an Aries moon. So it's behind, and that's what you have to remember. The first quarter, the moon is leading the way. The heart is leading. The last quarter, the moon is trailing behind. Now, sometimes this moon phase is in square negative aspect, a mutable, a fixed, or a cardinal. And sometimes, like me, it is in a sextile, which is, if you get the sextile, it's a lot easier. It's a little happier, and it doesn't stay stuck in the sad bits as much. Most likely, you're going to have a square if you have this moon phase. Some people will get a sextile. So you'll have to tell me if you have a first quarter or a third quarter, do you have it square or sextile? And I take 10 degrees for an orb. I hope you guys are following me. If not, be a super supporter and come learn everything with me. And if you can, come be a superstar super supporter. And in 3 months' time, you will get my master class. I'm building it now and I'm so excited about it. It's coming, it's coming. So I want you to think about this just being a half moon. So it's not quite a new moon and it's not quite a full moon. This has sort of the angst, if you will. One is external, first quarter, and one is internal. There's kind of like no rest with this moon. It's in crisis. This is a heart that is in crisis, trust me. And it's half lit, first or last, is asking for change. So you're going to have a lot of changes with this moon, either the first or the last. Your life is going to have a lot of changes, a lot of new starts, a lot of endings, and a lot of everything in the middle of that. So let me say it this way. These moon phase people do something and then they undo that very thing they just did. Meaning they take a bold action, then they get discontented, doesn't create peace inside of them or externally in their external world if they're a first quarter moon. So then they undo the very thing they just did. If you have this moon phase, either first or last, please tell me your story. Please tell me how this plays out for you. But there's an ambivalence that comes with these people too, because they sometimes just don't know what they want. Like King Henry VIII, he had this moon phase. So, he got married, didn't like her, cut off her head, undid it, got married, sent her away, didn't like her, got married, found the love of his life. Oh, she cheated on him, off with her head into the tower, was Catholic, but then didn't like that, didn't like the Catholic Italian Pope. And so did away with that. Then made himself the God of England. The King of England and the deity. A lot of ambivalence, like not knowing what you really want. So you end up undoing the very things you do. It creates a secret crisis inside of them. And oftentimes you never know it. This is for the last quarter moon phase people. There is this introverted, secret, vulnerable ache around being so ambivalent around the decisions that you've made. And oftentimes last quarter moon people are sitting there going, how the hell do I get out of this thing? How do I do this? How do I quit this job? How do I quit this relationship? How do I tell my parents I don't want to ride horses anymore? How do I not be a singer anymore? Also with first quarter and last quarter, this is when I've seen, especially during transit. Okay. That's why I want you guys to get the moon tracker and get your, quickie moon phase report, because these are usually more violent times when it's in the quarter moon phases, the first and the last. And I mean, these are when bombs go off. This is when there's car crashes, plane crashes, violent fights, bombs bursting in air. And there's a lot of traumatic events during these times. So it's good to know these times also by transit. Squares bring conflict. They bring collisions. They bring tension. You'll see it. You'll see it. If you start to track the moon, you will see it. This moon phase is a turning point phase. These people have had these dramatic shifts in life, in their personality or in their perspective or in their families or with their loved ones, that they are not usually as they were when they were young. So who they are today is probably very different than who they were when they were young. These people get rid of things that don't work for them. And they constantly course correct, 10 steps forward, 5 steps back. And they can leave people that just don't fit in with their perspective. Goodbye. Yeah, this is sort of a, can do away with you type of. The first quarter can do that a little bit more easily. There's a lot of turmoil with the last quarter moon phase. And I'm not saying they're unfeeling. They're deeply, deeply, deeply feeling. They're in crisis down inside. They can deal with really difficult tensions a lot, and sometimes for their whole life. These people internalize their stress, their woes, their challenges. They oftentimes never even tell anybody. The last quarter can really dwell in their reflection and pain. They usually blame themselves and put the weight of the blame onto themselves. And they can have stomach aches. And they work through the process of an internal blame and shame crisis. And this is what Dane Rujar said: crisis in consciousness versus crisis in action. The first quarter moon phases want to build something new, and the last quarter waning phase wanting to find a new way or a new direction, and kind of not a tearing down, but a letting go. Something is feeling not right on the inside. Change is a mental adjustment or an emotional adjustment or a new perspective or new knowledge, gaining a new way of thinking. Finding a new teacher or a mentor or a counselor or a coach, finding a way out through within. Does that make sense? It's really very deep moon. It gets overlooked. I mean, everything is about the new moon, the full moon, and this moon phase gets overlooked. And my next moon phase is even deeper than this, so stick with me. These people have very, very, very deep belief systems, kind of like the gibbous moon phase, but they need to live by these deep belief systems. They're also willing to sort of die for their belief systems. So Mother Teresa had this moon phase, and their deep belief systems are born out of discontentment. They're not content with just having things like how the rest of the world just sees things the way they are. If what you see is what you get. Not for this moon phase person. And if you're really awake and you have this moon phase, you can be so brilliant. But if you are blind and you are not deep and you are not willing to dig deep, you can end up so lonely and so hurt and so dissatisfied with the hand that you were dealt. You know, we're between the worlds in this phase. This earthly world that's falling away, and then there is other world that we don't yet know about. And these people have, for a good portion of their life, they probably have lived a life that was socially acceptable, but there's a longing they eventually awaken to. There's a deeper place out there somewhere in this outer eternal world, and there's more to discover, and they know it. They know that this isn't all there is, and so these are questioners, and they sort of burn the midnight oil in these deeper questions of life. They become aware of the spirit world. This is what I read this somewhere. I can't remember where I read it, and I would love to remember because I'd love to give the author credit. There was an author that wrote that this is society's pivot team, so they can help us change directions or see beneath or see above. Born with a bit of a feeling of creating a revolution inside. They don't want to just follow empty, vacant talking heads. There's also a little bit of a stubbornness with these people, especially if you've got this in fixed signs. Think about a seed, right? A seed that's been planted and that is growing. Think of what the seed can produce, but it's so hard on the outside. It's just so hard on the outside. Out of this seed blossoms the most fragile and tender flower, right? So these people can be kind of tough and hard a little bit. They can be uncompromising and stubborn and sort of fixed in their beliefs and in their ways. So if you've got this phase by progression, by transit, or natally, this is a time of deep reflection, deep questioning, and deep self-interrogation. This is a time to strip away all of sort of the phony rules that you've been living by, the societal or material rules and regulations, to go deep within and find your spiritual essence, figure out what you truly and genuinely believe in. And if you don't know, well, God will help you figure it out. That's usually not that fun. I recommend you do your own soul searching before you get a crisis that forces you into it. This is not a time to resist change. This is a time for you to create great change in your life. Okay, you guys, if you are a superstar, super supporter, I will use your chart in my members only videos. So if you guys haven't already sent in your information, send your birth information to teamsoulnavigation@gmail.com. That's where you should correspond. I have a great assistant now. She is fulfilling all of the perks that you get, and I will answer all of your comments and all of your questions. So if you are a superstar, super supporter, leave me a question here and I will answer it for you. That's one of your perks. Also, will you guys like and subscribe to my channel and share it to anybody who you feel would love this video? I would absolutely love it. We're growing and I am so grateful for all of you. Okay, let's talk about the waning crescent moon. This is the last moon phase, but there's this little secret phase inside of this phase, and I don't want you to miss it because it is the juiciest part of this whole entire video, and it's at the end, so stick with me. So this is the small crescent just prior to the new moon. So the light is on its last breath, and the darkness is about to happen. So this moon is behind. It is behind the sun, usually by 2 signs, and it's usually in complementary elements, sextile, fire with air or earth with water. There's oftentimes a harmony inside this person. Like this person's soul and heart get along, they understand, they speak the same language, different dialect. So this is like Australian English and American English. Can you guys just tell me if you're Australian or British? Is the American accent obnoxious or is it sweet on the ear? I'm thinking that it might be obnoxious, but oh my God, like you can so seduce me with an Australian accent. You can just, I don't know, you can order a plate of French fries and I'm just in awe. And the same with a British accent. I mean, you can tell me to tie my shoes and like go run 7 miles and I'll just be like, okay. But it's like that. So this is how it goes. It's like the same language, different accent, different dialect, if you will. This moon is really gorgeous, isn't it? It is just the tiniest little crescent moon. These people like feel that their own heart and their own mind are in synchronicity, and they feel like their perspective and their emotions and their feelings are quite right. And they like themselves and they like it that way. We call these people the mystics. They're deeply sensitive. They are the intuitive dreamers. They are the creative visionaries. They are aware of life beyond life. They have a relationship with the other side where the last quarter moon knows there's something out there and wants to go explore for it. But these people are just like it. They may be the actual guardian angel that is in your life. They may be an angel. They may see ghosts. They may be the Ghostbuster, the Ghost Whisperer, the actual person who can astro travel and come and go. And of course, we all live in parallel universes, but they might be aware of it where the rest of us are figuring it out. So I want you guys to remember Anaïs Nin. And she was that incredible erotica writer way before her time with Henry James. She had this moon phase, and she was a sun in Pisces with a Capricorn moon. And that's my brother, by the way, my younger brother. And he is such a remarkable human being. Wow. He's one of the most beautiful human beings on planet Earth. And he is an angel, and he already signed up to be there for me on my deathbed because I asked him to be in charge of the morphine just because he has no judgment. He'll let me go out with a smooth transition. He'll take me straight to heaven. He'll surf me there. He's so stinking cute. He plays the acoustic guitar. He's just got a poet's soul. He has this moon phase. But she wrote this material that was so advanced, and it just liberated women and their sexuality. And she wrote erotica and she wrote poetry until she was 80 years old. She was beautiful. Anaïs Nin. She's French. Tell me you guys know her. Do I have any French people on this channel? If you're French, would you say bonjour to me? Bonjour, mon ami. That's another one that can say, hey, go tie your shoes and run 17 miles. I'll be like, okay. Anyways, this was also the moon phase of Lewis Carroll, and he wrote Alice in Wonderland. And the English author Charles Dickens had this moon phase. And this is a moon phase, and I would say this about my brother, they need deep solitude. They know the light will soon be snuffed out, and they're not afraid to merge with the snuffing out of the light. They often are vampires. Like, they don't love or need the sunshine as much as they need the moonlight. They need the moonlight. They love the moonlight. These people have a deep pull inward. They do really understand that all things must come to an end. One of my favorite things about my younger brother, well, I have two younger brothers, this is my youngest brother, is that when I ask him a question, he always thinks about the answer. He never, ever just answers. He thinks about the answer first. So he takes deep breaths. He takes a deep pause. He reflects. He goes inward. It's like he's searching for it. He's trying to find his truth. And then he usually delivers something really honest and very profound. And he's been doing that since he was 7 years old. I mean, when you have this moon phase, you're born an old soul. Let me just tell you, you are an old soul. You also are very right-brained, usually. Tell me if you're right-brained. It's like there's an instinct, a psychic instinct, and an intuition that's just out of this world, off the charts. We kind of like, when we have this moon phase, we leave our bodies and we rely on our more intuitive senses in this moon phase. And sometimes we don't know if we're saying a hello or a goodbye. These are the healers. These are the ones that everybody drops all their energy onto. And these are the great listeners. This is the one that everybody tells their heart story to. These are the ones that help you process your divorce, or teach you that all good things have to come to an end, or help you through your breakup. They're on suicide watch with you, or they're working the suicide hotline. This is a very psychic moon. These are the mystics and the shamans, and they use their past experiences to literally know the future. Yeah, this is the waning crescent moon, but it's also called the balsamic moon, and that's actually what I call it. But they are old souls wrapping up lessons from their past lives in this lifetime, and they have like a whole data bank of past lives. They probably can even remember them. These people don't necessarily easily fit into society, especially in American culture where everybody's supposed to be happy and everybody's supposed to be joyful and everything's supposed to be good and you're supposed to live in gratitude. And just other countries don't live like that to the degree of sort of this fake happy persona here. Balsamic moons just don't live like that. I think maybe balsamic moon people or waning crescent moon people are not as afraid of loss as others. There's growth inside of loss. There's a wisdom here with this moon. And when the world is in a balsamic phase by transit, it's really important to know that, because this is right before a new moon phase, and this is not when you want to start. You don't want to start a new project inside a balsamic moon phase. And if it's in a balsamic moon phase to your moon, let's say your sun is at 20 degrees Libra. Well, you don't want to start a new project when the moon is at 18 degrees Libra, even if it's not in a balsamic phase with the transiting sun, if it's in a balsamic phase with your sun sign, so you've got a 20-degree Libra sun and the moon is sitting at 18 degrees. Well, you know the moon is behind the sun and that's a balsamic moon phase. You don't want to start a new project then. You want to wait one day and get it when it's in a new moon phase to your sun. Are you with me? Tell me you're with me. Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Tell me that you got that math. And if not, come be a super supporter and learn everything behind the scenes with me. God, you'll love it. There's so much to learn. It's infinite. But don't fear the balsamic moon. You kind of have to lean into it. And this is a time in the darkness where we can't see, so we just feel. And so you just need to lay in your bubble bath or lay in your bed and succumb to not knowing. And this is the time when we succumb to the impossible. We succumb to the dream. We create the dream. We make it up in our minds, but we don't implement it. We don't take action on it. We dream it up. We dream up the mystery. We dream up the magic. And with this moon, more than any other phase, there's more magic in this moon phase. There's a magic, but it's a deep rumble within you, and you have to be still to hear it. So we lean into the possibilities of all of the mysteries of life. The wise moon, the sage moon, just as the new moon is the newborn baby, this moon is the wise old sage. And these people are sort of forced to live with one foot into the mundane real world, stocking shelves at the grocery store, and yet they have this whole other side just completely enmeshed in the spirit world. So they're torn. And you can even talk to them and they don't even hear you. They're listening to the angels sing. Do you have this moon phase? Tell me, what's it like for you? Tell me, share with us. Let's have everybody learn from our collective experiences. So these people have a need for a deep, rich environment of solitude. They have to shut out the chaos of the world like blackout curtains at your hotel room. And they need just simple time alone. And they can even become self-absorbed. They can just pull the covers over their head and just want to be with themselves. Yep. And you're wondering why they're not calling you and participating in like regular society. Why are they not coming over for tea at 4? They said they would be here. And then you go over to their house and, oh my God, they're buried under their covers. This is Leonardo DiCaprio. This is Tiger Woods. This is Marlon Brando. He has this just by like a second. So even if you have this by 1 degree, it's still this. It's not a new moon, people. It is a balsamic moon. If the moon is behind the sun, it is a balsamic moon. Michelangelo, Stevie Wonder, Bob Dylan, Beethoven, Deepak Chopra. Are these not the best examples? Oh my God. These are technically anybody who has the moon 315 to 360 degrees behind their sun. I also want to talk about my juicy secret for you. The dark moon is when it is like 1 day to half a day before the new moon. It is at the very tail end. So if 360 degrees is the last degree of the circle, I would say that this would be like the last 5 degrees. So 355 to 360. So just moments before the new moon. It's almost like, damn, why didn't you just take one more breath and then be born? Just kidding. That's your karmic contract, and that's what you picked, and you wanted to be deep. You didn't want to be fun, you wanted to be deep. I'm sorry. I don't want to make all you people feel bad about yourself. It's deep, it's riveting. I mean, it's life-changing. We all, choose our own karmic contracts, to tell you the truth. So tell me if you're born just like, a couple degrees, like 355 to 360 before, it's going to look like a new moon. On this circle, it's going to look like a new moon, but the moon is going to be behind the sun, not in front of it. So you know that the planets progress around the circle this way. So you're going to have your sun, and then you're going to have your moon just behind it, not in front of it, not going towards the next sign in progression, but going back towards the sign earlier than your sun sign. So if you are a Sagittarius at 15 degrees and your moon is at 14 degrees, let's say 45 minutes, that is the moon I'm talking about. I would say within 5 degrees behind. It's the dark moon. Karl Marx had this. Marlon Brando, like I said, I mean, those were deep people. This is when the seed is in the dirt and it has sprouted life in the dirt, but it hasn't popped up into the light yet. But it's in the dirt and it is sprouted and it's forcing its way up through the dirt. I mean, isn't it fascinating how strong that little seed is? This is the dark moon inside the waning crescent moon or the balsamic moon. So deeply feeling and so intense. These people are so musical, so poetic, so brilliant. They are the visionary geniuses of the world. They are especially gifted. Michelangelo had this. I know I put him in the crescent moon, but he had this really tight, and so did Handel, and he wrote the Messiah. Oh my God. So these people are not afraid to feel the pain of the world, the melancholy of life. They see pain as an accelerator of growth. Can you believe this? Tell me if you have this. When the moon is dark, right before the new moon, this is when you want to empty out your sock drawers. This is when you want to purge the garbage in your life. This is literally when you want to throw away everything that's not needed. It acts a little bit like a full moon, a little bit, except you can't always see the truths. You just know the truths. There is so much deep intuition with this moon. Challenge what you're attached to during this dark moon phase. Make room for your new self to grow tomorrow, right? Because this is like the day before the new moon. And you want to know what these days are. That's why you got to get a moon tracker. So you can buy one off my shop if you want, or go get one free on the internet. I don't care how you do it, but I have one handy for you if you want to support the channel and buy one from my shop. I'm going to tell you also that these people are very highly aware of grief and sadness and sorrow. What I want you to do on the dark moon is get rid of your old shoes, metaphorically, get rid of everything that's not working for you, and get rid of your grief, your sorrow, your sadness. Get rid of your shame and blame from your past mistakes. Get rid of your past mistakes. Put them away. Get rid of your lost hopes. Get rid of the love that never materialized in your life. Finished, done. Close the door on that. You know, these people feel like they need to feel the pain in order to truly grow their lives. They can also hold your pain. They can really sit with you in your pain. These people would be brilliant at hospice work. They would help you transition. These people are quite extraordinary. Tell me if you know anybody who has this moon phase. I mean, it's pretty rare and it's very extraordinary. These are visionary geniuses. Anyways, you guys, I hope that you love this. This went a little long, and I hope that you got so much out of this. I'm almost done with my moon series. I hope you guys will watch the entire moon series because I give you a little deeper content on this particular playlist. You get to see sort of the underbelly of each sign. So even if you are a Gemini sun sign, watch my Gemini moon video. That's still coming. But I'm just saying, watch this whole series because I give you like the deeper emotional truths about each of these signs. So I hope you will enjoy this. I hope you will enjoy my whole channel. I just love having you all here. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time for my live chats. Take good care. Bye.